Hello everyone, I am Councilor Dino Acuña and today I am very delighted to share with you the latest addition to my collection of books here at home, most of which I have read already. I have liked the Council Journals of the Sangguniang Bayan and Sangguniang Panlungsod collection of the City of Victorias from the periods 1947 up to 1969. I have the manuscript of Esteban Jalandoni, former Presidente Municipal of Victorias, and the historical data about the Municipality of Victorias found at the National Library of the Philippines and submitted by the Bureau of Education in 1953. I have a number of jurisprudence and Supreme Court decisions relating to Victoria City, the operating manual when the Victorias Water District first opened, and a number of war books, Philippine World War books, and other self-help books. I am also fond of collecting books from masters in arts, specifically visual artists like H.R. Ocampo, Sanso, Anita Magsaysayho, Ben Cab, and of course, Fernando Amorsolo. But today, I am very excited to share with you not just beautiful, but also historically meaningful, a true cultural artifact of the Ilustrados of Victorias from the Spanish colonial period up to the early American period. It's an 1882 theatrical script, a two-sequel booklet with dimension of about 5 by 8 only, but it's already 144 years old and probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest books present in Victoria's City today. Please come and join me as we explore together the significance of this book to the history of the city we all love today. Because the zarzuela or the stage play or the theatrical drama that I found through this book has been part of the manuscript written by Esteban Jalandoni, our 1928 Presidente Municipal and 1901 Secretary Municipal of the historic Victoria's City. Please join me as I move to my small space where I write, prepare my resolutions and ordinances, and in the process, I am currently writing a book about Victoria City and the documented legacy and life of Don Alejandro Acuña Yapquiña and the Acuña Yapquiña, Palanca, and Songcuaco family based on archival records and ecclesiastical records, and it comes in three parts, namely the documented life of Alejandro Acuña Yapquiña, the acquisition of the 27-hectare Casco de la Poblacion, which is what is now known as the Poblacion of Victoria City, and part 3 is the manuscript of Esteban Jalandoni revisited. It's called Victoria City, a Heritage Written in Land and Record, from Tong'an, Amoy, now Xiamen in the Fujian province of China, to Negros Occidental. Let's come and enjoy together. Hi, so this is my writing desk. This is a personal space for me here at home. This is where I write and prepare resolutions, ordinances, and the book that I said earlier I was writing about the history of Victorias and the life and legacy of Don Alejandro Acuña Yapquiña and the Acuña Yapquiña Palanca Songcuaco family, a story written based on archival and ecclesiastical records. And here I am always accompanied by these guys, and they all watch me whenever I do my work. They serve as my audience, and I am sitting in a very important, to me, very important swivel chair. This is the swivel chair that was used by former Mayor Severo A. Palanca. It was already in a dilapidated position, and I had to ask it, and I had it reupholstered, and today it's renewed. It's very comfortable, and it's always nice to feel that you are sitting in a chair that was seated or used by one of the city's most effective and most loved mayor. In fact, at the back of the chair, I had it written his name, SAP or Severo A. Palanca, and of course next to his name is my name. So anyway, going back to the story I was telling you about earlier, the relevance of the newly acquired book, the 144-year-old book that I recently acquired online, and its relevance to the history of Victorias. I will explain them in detail, and please join me and listen and watch and learn as I share with you this very, to me, important knowledge and information about the history of this great city. As we all know, we have a manuscript written by Esteban Jalandoni. But who is Esteban Jalandoni? Esteban Jalandoni was recommended to the municipal treasurer Ricardo Gonzaga in 1901 by former civil governor of Negros Occidental, Milicio Severino from Silay. Governor Milicio Severino served as civil governor, the first civil governor during the American occupation in Negros, which covered the island of Negros, including the oriental part. And he started his term of office on November 6, 1899 up to April 30, 1901, for a very short period of only a little over a year. But what was the reason? Why was he replaced? He was replaced because he was suspected of being a non-sympathetic to the Americans. He was suspected of plotting a revolt against the Americans, and so he was immediately replaced by Jose Ruiz de los Oriaga, who only stayed for 3 months and eventually replaced by Leandro de la Rama Locsin. And when Ricardo Gonzaga approached former Governor Milicio Severino, he recommended his former escribiente or his former clerk in the person of Esteban Jalandoni. So, on August 1, 1901, Esteban Jalandoni started his more than 40 years career in Victorias as first Secretary Municipal of Victorias, now Victorias City. And Esteban Jalandoni went on to become a municipal councilor, a municipal treasurer, justice of peace, and eventually in 1928 up to 1931, he became the Presidente Municipal of the Municipality of Victorias. It was during his term of office when the first municipal subdivision plan was approved. And Esteban Jalandoni left a written memoir about the history of Victorias known as Ang Ginagihan sang Banwa nga Victorias. And there is a part in the memoir that he wrote. This became the basis of all the historical events and history of Victorias that we can find today online and elsewhere. The manuscript of Esteban Jalandoni. Although it was followed in 1953 by the historical data about the Municipality of Victorias prepared by the Bureau of Education in 1953 to the National Library of the Philippines, but this manuscript of Esteban Jalandoni really serves as the basis of all the literatures that can be found about the Municipality of Victorias. And in the manuscript of Esteban Jalandoni, there is a part which said that after the 1906 acquisition of the Casco de la Poblacion, or which is where the poblacion of Victoria City stands today, the Sanggunian or the council, the Consejo of the municipality in January of 1907 decided to construct the Casa Municipal in the newly acquired property in Magnanod and Ginpanaan. The area where the poblacion stands today was formerly called Magnanod or Ginpanaan, and in some other literatures are also mentioned to be where Hacienda Sinanggulan was located. So the council, after they decided to construct the new Municipal Hall in where I believe is where the Victorias Elementary School stands today, we have evidence, primary evidence from the DPWH Bureau of Archives that states that the site where the Home Economics Building was where the original Casa Municipal de Magnanod was located during the olden times. And also, Mrs. Eva Hover, she's now in her 90s, also made a testimony that when she was little, studying at Victoria's Elementary School, she used to go to where the Home Economics Building is located today, because that was where the Casa Municipal de Magnanod was located, where his Lolo Teban was holding office back then. And going back to the manuscript, since they decided to construct, they had 1,500 peso from the Caja de Tresorera of the municipality. But then in March, they had to halt with the construction because of lack of funds. And so the council decided to, why not hold a theatrical play? During those times, there were no movie houses yet, there were no concerts yet, there was no It's Showtime yet or Eat Bulaga yet. So people would go for theatrical play or stage plays or zarzuelas or comedia or moro-moro. And so the council decided to instead hold a theatrical drama to be held in the eskwelahan, or better interpretations, where the Daan Banwa Elementary School stands today, in order to raise funds. And so they decided to hold the stage play called Flor de un Dia, or Flower of One Day. And it was followed on May 22, 1907 by its sequel, which is called Espinas de una Flor. This is a very beautiful love story, but before I proceed, I'd like to present to you the relevance of the new book that I found online, which arrived only yesterday, and this is the original package of the book. Can you believe that I was able to find online, when nobody gives attention to it, I found the original theatrical script of the two sequel theatrical play that was staged in 1907 in Victorias in order to raise funds for the construction of the first ever Casa Municipal de Magnanod located in today's city of Victorias. This is a two sequel. The first sequel of the book, Flor de un Dia, was published in Madrid in 1882. And this is the original 1882 document of the Flor de un Dia. And the other part of this is the sequel, which our city officials held on May 22 at the Eskwelahan in Daan Banwa in 1907 in order to raise funds for the construction of the Municipal Hall building, the sequel Espinas de una Flor. And this one, while this one was published in 1882, the other one, or the sequel, was published in 1887. You know, I have searched and found out that in the Philippines back then, during the Spanish era, books would be shipped here to the Philippines, and then there would be publication houses or publishing houses that would bind them and prepare them. So it is estimated that this very book was bounded in between 1880s and 1890s. But the content are the original publication dating back to 1882 and 1887. Some 144 years old and 139 years old. But if you'd like to check on the edge of the book, it would tell you Camprodón, who is the author, and it says Flor de un Dia. And in the bottom part, it says Agencia Editorial Manila. So according to my research, Agencia Editorial Manila was most likely the publishing house or the authorized distributor of the theatrical play sequel, the Flor de un Dia Una and the Espinas de una Flor. Isn't it amazing that we were able to find the original theatrical script of the stage plays that were held in 1907 in order to raise funds for our town. And what's more amazing is the fact that the characters that can be found in the manuscript of Esteban Jalandoni about the stage play Flor de un Día Una is exactly similar to the characters that are mentioned in this theatrical script that we found online. They are number one, of course, the central character played by Señorita Paz Gonzaga was Lola. Juana, played by Petronila Quizon de Tongoy. Diego, by Esteban Jalandoni. Marquez, Eugenio Torres. Baron, Graciano Conlu. Juan El Negro, Vito Alba, and Kapitan, Diogenos Arsenal. While in the original theatrical play, the characters here are also Baron, played by Antonio de Guzman. Lola, by Doña Teodora La Madrid. Juana, Diego, played by Don Jose Valero. Juan El Negro, Marquez, and Kapitan. This book, or the play, Flor de un Día, and of course its sequel, Espinas de una Flor, was first written and played in 1951 for the first sequel, the Flor de un Día Una. And it was followed in 1852. The first one was played on stage in 1851 and the second one in 1852. And this theatrical drama was written by Don Francisco Camprodón. Don Francisco Camprodón was a Spanish playwright and poet, and he was associated with Romanticism, a movement that focuses on romance, sacrifice, honor, and tragedy. Although this is already the 24th edition in 1882, but somehow it reached the shores of the Philippines and was published here and was distributed here. And according to my research, these theatrical dramas were very popular in the Philippines to the extent that it influenced Filipino minds, and it was even read and played in schools, in town halls, and in our case in the eskwelahan in Daan Banwa. So again, we have this very important cultural artifact of the Ilustrados of Victorias in 1907 in our possession right now. And going back to the main characters of the manuscript of the stage play that was held in 1907, according to the manuscript of Esteban Jalandoni, the central character was Lola in the person of Señorita Paz Gonzaga. Now, who is Paz Gonzaga? They were looking for somebody who was fluent in speaking Spanish, and it was so timely that the daughter of later became Presidente Municipal Ricardo Gonzaga, Señorita Paz Gonzaga, just came back from college and was very fluent in speaking Spanish. And so, when they asked the good gentleman Don Ricardo Gonzaga if he would allow his daughter to play the central character in this play, and he said yes. And so they started making their practice either at the Municipal Hall or in Hacienda Ilaya, owned by Don Ricardo Gonzaga. And Diego, the other central male character, was played by Esteban Jalandoni. Around this time in 1907, I'm sure Esteban Jalandoni would have been younger than how we see him in the photos and portraits today. But anyway, according to the story of Esteban Jalandoni, in one of the practices at the Casa Municipal in Daan Banwa, Don Felix Lozada Montinola Sr. happened to be around and watch as they practice for the play. And so since Consihal Habiliana was not so good in directing the stage play as he had no prior experience about it, and Don Felix was around, he himself invited Don Felix if he could be the director of the play. And so Don Felix agreed, and Don Felix became the official director. He was even recognized and acknowledged during the actual play night. Now, Don Felix was the Presidente Municipal during the early 20th century in E.B. Magalona. He was known for his Gota de Leche project, a milk feeding project for those suffering with beriberi, especially for mothers and their infants. And later on, Don Felix rose to become the first ever municipal mayor of Victorias from 1934 up to 1941. He is attributed to the beautiful, magnificent, and majestic Victoria City Hall building that we see today, and the public plaza and the aguas potables that we can find along Quirino Street where the Victoria City Water District office stands today. Don Felix Montinola Sr. became the father and grandfather of a number of good mayors that Victorias have had in the past, including, of course, his children, Benito Montinola, Hector Montinola, his grandchildren, Benito Jr., Jesus Fermin, and Renato Fermin. Those are all the best mayors that Victoria City had in the past. Now, what is the story of the Flor de Ondia? Well, as we all know, the author, Francisco Camprodón, associated with Romanticism, meaning to say he was more of focus on romance, tragedy, love, and purity. And so the character of Lola here, she was young, she was beautiful, virtuous, and pure. And the male character in the person of Diego, played by Esteban Jalandoni, pursued her, courted her, and showed sincerity. But in the end, she was deceived, she was betrayed, she was abandoned. And so during those times, the dignity and self-worth of a woman depends on her faith, on how she manages to, of course, uphold her dignity. And so in this case, her social worth was ruined. She was embarrassed. She was talked about by the townspeople, and so it destroyed her. And that's the story of the Flor de Dia, the flower of one day. And the sequel, because she was abandoned by her lover, whom she gave everything to, including her dignity, her trust, and in other instances, it was implied that she even gave him herself. And so, after Diego abandoned her, she was ruined. And the sequel, Espinas de una Dia, which means, de una flor, which means the thorn of the flower. It was an attempt by Diego to show remorse, but then it was way too late because Lola's dignity was already destroyed. And so it was a very romantic but tragic love story. And in the play, of course, since its purpose was to raise funds to finish the construction of the halted municipal building, they were able to raise 680 pesos for the 2 nights that they held the stage play. There was actually a third sequel, but it was not made by Francisco Camprodón, so I did not include it, and it's not in the book. But anyway, for the 2 plays, theatrical plays and dramas that were played, the municipal officials was able to raise 680 pesos, enough to finish the construction of the first ever Casa Municipal de Magnanod in the new poblacion area acquired by the municipality of Victorias from the donation of Don Alejandro Acuña Yapquiña in 1906. And after, like in May of 1907, the only lacking side of the construction was for the walls. And so, Presidente Municipal Policarpo Ascalon, upon hearing it, donated 4,000 shingles of nipa to be made for the walls of the new Casa Municipal building. And so, on October 31, 1907, with the approval of the Provincial Governor Manuel Lopez, they were able to officially transfer the Casa Municipal from Daan Banwa to the new site, which we believe is where the Victoria's Elementary School stands today, specifically in the Home Economics Building. As seen in the 1936 and 1934 blueprint from the Bureau of Archives of the Department of Public Works and Highways, and the testimony of Mrs. Eva Hover. So isn't it beautiful that we were able to locate this very important artifact for Victoria's City? This will be kept here in Victoria's, and this is just so amazing that we have this. And I am just so happy to be able to share this little information to my fellow Victoriasanons. So again, para sa ihibalo sang mga Victoriasanon, ako, si Konsehal Dino Acuña, ang pariente sang masa.